Hey class, so this is the live paint tool tutorial. Basically, what we're going to do is create another version of this Barcelona pavilion, except using colors and planes only. As you can see, we've already have done the first part of the exercise, which is to draw the Barcelona pavilion with only lines and line weight. So you'll see we have a line weight for the outline, a line weight for the edge lines, and then the hidden lines have another line weight and some opacity taken away. So to begin with getting this ready and set up, let's go ahead and change the format of our little canvas. I want to make it a portrait 8.5 by 11. So to do that, I'm going to go to Document Setup and then Edit Artboards. Here you'll see I have it set to 11 by 17, so I want to change that to be 8.5 by 11. Awesome. And then I can just hit Escape to get out of that dialog box. So now I just need to shrink the artwork because right now, as you can see, it goes way past the edges of my paper. So to do that, I just have to highlight everything like so, just like in AutoCAD, and then I click on one of these end transform points, and I hold down Shift as I drag it down. And if I hold down Alt at the same time of holding Shift, I can scale in all four directions. Remember, Shift maintains the scale. And I'm going to move the whole piece up here. It's about right there. Okay? Now, if we zoom in, you'll see that the line weights themselves did not scale to the same proportion as the objects as a whole. So what we want to do here is let's go ahead and change our line weights to be a little bit more to this new scale that we're in. So our outline is a little bit chunky. So let's go ahead and select everything in our outline layer. And instead of the stroke being 2 point, let's change it to 1 point. Everything else kind of still works. Maybe the edge or the hidden lines could be bumped down 1 notch in opacity. So instead of 30%, I can change it to 20%. Yeah, that way we can see the other lines a little bit nicer. So I'm going to hit Control 0 to see the whole page. And now everything kind of looks appropriate and pretty clean. So I'm pretty happy with this top portion. Now what I want to do is I want to make a new layer that consists of only our colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to just click on here, create new layer, and you'll see a new layer is already created, and I'm going to call it 04 colors. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take all the objects of the regular lines layer, and I'm going to use that as a guide in coloring in the Barcelona pavilion. So to do that, I'm going to just select all the objects on my lines layer, like so. And I'm going to hold down Alt, and you'll see my mouse pointer when I hover over the lines is a black and white cursor. And I'm just going to drag down these lines. I have to make sure I hold down Alt and Shift as well to lock it into the same ortho. And that makes a copy of our lines layer. So now all I want to do is I want to move these objects to the colors layer. So I'm going to select them all, and here you'll see at the end of our layers line, you'll see a little color highlighted. I'm just going to drag that color up to the colors layer. And now you'll see it change color from pink to blue. So I know I did the change correctly. A good way to know what layer something is on visually is by just clicking on a line, and it should correspond in color to the color of the layer. It's not the actual color of the object itself, it's more just a visual way to see what layer a certain object is on. Okay, so now I'm just going to scoot this down just a hair. Now I want to color all this in. So to begin, I'm just going to turn all the other layers off because I'm only going to be working with this. These lines are going to be erased later on. So I'm also going to just go ahead and make them a little bit thinner so I can see in between everything. So I'm going to give it a 0.1 stroke weight. Now I can see the space between some more tighter open spaces. Yeah, so this is just going to be a guide for coloring in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a command called the Live Paint tool. You can access the Live Paint tool through one of these little buttons. I don't remember which one it is because the way I know it is by typing in the letter K. So as you can see, it's actually this button right here. But K is the Live Paint tool. So to engage the Live Paint tool, I'm going to, before I can actually use it, I need to select all the objects that I'm going to use in my Live Paint tool. Now I can hit the letter K, and you'll see all the objects turned red, or at least they kind of changed a different color. That's letting you know that these are the objects that are about to be used in the Live Paint tool to make a Live Paint group. So now I want to select a fill color. So to do this, I just go up to my fill color drop down menu. I hold down shift, and right now I'm not worried about what color. It just needs to be not black and not white, and ideally something lighter, like maybe like this this green. Hello, this green. And I also want to turn the stroke off because I don't want these Live Paint tool objects to have a stroke. So I'm going to just hit on the little square with the red slash in it. So now you can see my Live Paint tool brush has the green square around it. That means I'm about to color things in all in green. So now we can just go ahead and start clicking in, and you'll see it's looking for closed loops of space in our artwork. Now you can speed this up by just clicking and dragging across multiple planes, even ones that I've already colored in. This is just a faster way of coloring things in with the Live Paint tool. It's how I like to do it. Alright, and I can even zoom in and just get these last bits that I may have missed because they're so small. Alright, I think I got almost everything. Oh, I still see some white. Now, the reason why I am doing it all like this, you could individually go in and change the colors of the live paint tool. So I could go in and just start coloring in all the pieces that I want one color and then change the fill color. But the live paint tool is kind of um, a, a kind of a finicky tool. You'll see what I mean. Because when I'm done with the live paint tool, it creates a group of objects. It's called a live paint group, and you have to keep like ungrouping everything for every little change that you want to make. So I'm just doing this kind of one catch-all coloring in of my objects. That way I can not have to worry about doing live paint ever again in this instance. So when I'm done, I just click on my selection tool, and now you'll see we have what's called a live paint group. So when you make so when you do the live paint tool, what that does is it does two things. It creates a live paint group, and then it creates a regular group. So now what we want to do is ungroup both the live paint group and the regular one. So if I just click on the object, up here you'll see expand, and when we hover over the button it says converts the live paint group into individual paths. So that's exactly what we want to do. Okay, so now it's in individual objects, but if we click on it, it's still grouped together. So what we want to do to ungroup it, we just go to object and ungroup. And it takes like 2 tries to get everything ungrouped, so I just keep clicking on that and until finally ungroup is not an option anymore. So now everything is an individual object. We don't have to worry about using the live paint tool again. And now we can just color in things as we see fit. So now, the fun part, I want to pick a color scheme. So instead of going in and trying to come up with some random color scheme, I'm going to use a great reference that I always like to use when picking color schemes, and that's one of my favorite cell phone video games, Monument Valley. If you haven't played Monument Valley, it's a really fun game. Kind of challenging, but I think the thing that everybody is just obsessed with the most is that it is like a stunning looking video game. So simple and minimal, but very creative use of architectural concepts, um, and with a really nice design and overall aesthetic. So I'm gonna just pick one of these and use this as my color scheme. So I have like a top color, a side color, and then another side color. So that's really all I want. And in my case, I already saved this color scheme in my desktop. So all I need to do is find it and drag it in. Okay, so it doesn't need to be so big. So I just need to scale it to where I can see it relatively close like that. So now I can just go ahead and pick on an object, and I'm gonna just type in the letter I, and that turns on the eyedropper command, and I'm just gonna pick on a color that I like, something like that. So it looks pretty good. So now that I have it in here, with the eyedropper tool still turned on, I can hold down the Alt key, and now what that'll do is that'll just take the active color and override whatever the object color is. So all the green pieces turn into that purple color. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and get started on the top portions, or like the top pieces of color. So I'm going to do this in one kind of large sweeping bit. So I want to select all the green objects because I really don't like this green color and it's just kind of bothering me. So I'm going to click on one object. I'm going to go to select, same, and then I'm going to go to fill color. So now everything that is green is is highlighted. And I'm going to go ahead and change it to say this, like, yeah, it's kind of like a peachy kind of color, like so. All right, now I want one more color in here for my sides. I'm gonna pick one of these kind of red tones. That should look pretty good. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm just going to hold down Alt and start coloring everything in that I want to be that color. As you can see, I missed some, but I'm not too worried about that. And I'm also going to make kind of like a little rule. Maybe I want all the glass to be white. That way I kind of evoke the fact that it's clear. You can set whatever rules you want. Here, this one. Alright, I think I got almost everything. I don't have to be too perfect about this. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and just color these mullions this purple color. The great thing about Illustrator is that it is very sharp, so I know this will print pretty nicely. Like so. Maybe I want the left side of these mullions as well. Ah, missed it. Yeah, so that looks kind of nice. And now I can also go ahead and delete these ones that I want to be white. So I'm just holding shift and clicking with my selection tool. So I can either delete them, or I can just with my eyedropper tool select in the white space here and it turns them white. Something like that. And maybe just to kind of change up my rule, maybe I want this plinth to be white as well. Like so. That way the plinth kind of can blend into the paper. Gotta turn this red. Okay, that looks pretty nice. And all I'm gonna do now is take out the line work. So to take out a line, it's pretty easy. All we have to do is click on a line, and you'll see it highlighted here. And I just have to go to select, same, and since these are all the same stroke color, I'm just gonna select stroke color, like so. And I can turn it off with this command, but in this case, I just want to delete it all. Okay, so now you get a pretty nice looking graphic. And it's using only colors to define edges, which is another way of communicating, or like a different way, a different language in communication. But also it just visually has like a much different feel. It's kind of giving kind of like a more it's giving like a quality of maybe like a time of day or like a certain environment, like a certain world that you're trying to establish. So, color is a pretty powerful tool. And I'm going to go ahead and turn all the other layers on so that I now see I have a graphic that is only lines and line weight, and one that is only color. So pretty powerful. Okay, so now the last thing I want to do is just add type. So here I'm just going to select somewhere in the middle and then go down to my usual font and just call this perspective. Oop. '01. And then I'm going to hold down Alt and drag to copy it. And this will be perspective 02. And that's it. That's the whole exercise. So I hope you enjoyed this one.